This video is sponsored by you and by Yostar. Yeah, believe it or not. Links to support the channel are in the description, along with the Discord. Hello there, Arknights most hated YouTuber here, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. Wang is arguably the best unit in the game right now. I say arguably because in this game nothing is truly that simple, and I need to put on my nuance hat for damn near every statement lest I get roasted in the comments, literally and figuratively. Exusiai Alter and Tragodia are also runner-ups for the best operator in the game slot, depending on what you value in an operator and what content you actually engage with. When it comes to Wang, he's functionally just Wis'Adel but better, fulfilling the same role in the wider ecosystem of the game. In other words, an easy mode operator that borders on being a genuine accessibility option. He is the type of operator you can slap down on a map to breeze past it without much thinking or care for the stage and enemy mechanics. You deploy Wang, activate the skill tree, deploy his traps, and watch as everything in front of him breaks down on a molecular level. I am not going to sit here and tell you this is an illegitimate way of playing. I could make the joke that who needs a strategy in their strategy game anyway, but that's annoying and elitist. I could cosplay the average Soulsborne fan and tell you that using Wang defeats the point of Arknights and that you are infringing on its sanctity, but I shower more than once a week. If you are willing to get an operator knowing they can and will entirely trivialize the game, that is your decision, I am just the messenger. Wang is a trapmaster operator. His gameplay loop involves having a stock of up to 7 traps, or Weiqi stones, he can place anywhere on the map. These Weiqi stones then deal a frankly outrageous amount of damage to the enemies. Thanks to Talent 1, each Weiqi stone will reproduce through mitosis and manifest a second Weiqi stone in one of the 4 adjacent tiles. This extra Weiqi stone does not come from his normal stock, it is rather manifested from the Ether for free. Adjacent Weiqi stones will also become linked, this is important for later. Unlike previous Trapmasters, Wang is played incredibly aggressively, whereas someone like the little chud Dorothy had to be played strategically and predictively, setting up traps in advance to catch enemies that would come later. Wang can be played like a complete monkey, tossing out traps directly on top of the enemy proactively. Let's look at a skill tree, his main skill. During skill tree, he immediately gains 8 Weiqi stones, his range expands to this giant-ass square. The Weiqi stones can be deployed on top of enemies, which is normally not possible, and each Weiqi stone will now asexually reproduce into up to 4 more Weiqi stones, if the tiles are available. However, mitosis is a tough effort, and spawning these extra Weiqi stones will consume ammo. Wang has 20 ammo, and the skill ends when all ammo is used, or when you deactivate it manually. When the skill ends, all remaining ammo is returned as Weiqi stones in Wang's main stock. 2 things to note is that 1, he stops attacking himself during skill tree, and 2, he only has the super mitosis when you put a trap in the big-ass square of skill tree. People say that technically speaking, Wang is a global damage Wis'Adel, but that's not entirely true in practice. You still want to be deploying in the square, which admittedly is still a gigantic range. Oh, and the traps that spawn in through mitosis don't give a shit whether the tile is deployable or not. They can spawn on banned tiles and even stuff like stairs. With his insane damage multipliers and the fact he deals arts damage, this would already be better than Wis'Adel on its own. But then we add talent 2. At Module X level 3, when linked Weiqi stones are activated, all other stones lined in a straight line will deal increased damage and ignore 12 resistance, stacking up to 3 times. The module also increases the deployment limit of Weiqi stones by 1, as to mean the number that can be on the field at once. It means that this unemployed-looking fellow can get upwards of 36 flat resistance ignore. Let's explain why this is so powerful. Wis'Adel, the previous easy mode accessibility option operator, had one major weakness which was very intentional from the developers. She dealt physical damage and had no inherent stat ignore in her kit. To explain how damage calculation works in this game for the 250th time, physical damage is just a simple subtraction between your damage and the enemy's defense, giving you the total damage. This means that in difficult content, Wis'Adel would simply get stat checked. This created an operator who was incredible for casuals, trivializing the vast majority of the game, but that progressively got worse as content became more demanding, with the exception of IS. I would argue this was perfectly balanced the way it was. Wis'Adel had a very clear and intentional purpose in the ecosystem of the game. So here's how Wang throws all of this out of the window. First of all, he deals arts damage. This is important because, to explain how damage calculation works in this game for the 251st time, arts damage is reduced in percentage. Resistance only goes up to 100, and your damage is reduced in percentage equal to resistance. So 20 resistance is a 20% damage reduction, for example. This inherently makes arts damage harder to stat check. You can't just wall it completely with a high enough number. Not just that, but you know, they just straight up gave this guy innate stat ignore. He is therefore Wis'Adel without the main balancing factor of Wis'Adel. He remains good even in extremely demanding high-end content like optimized max point CCB. I know so far this video could perhaps appear mechanically shallow. I am not really explaining how he works or what he does, but that's truly because he is that simple. You activate a skill tree and deploy traps so they can form a plus shape. That's the whole gameplay loop. This doesn't mean he is entirely mindless, though. There are a few things you must keep into consideration. First off, the DP cost. Each trap costs DP. Given they are extremely cheap and Myrtle exists, so this will never ever be an issue outside of CCB risks, but I guess it's something. The second and more meaningful thing to watch out for is that you can easily cuck yourself with it. What I mean is running out of Weiqi stones when off skill. Because sure, on the first cycle you can simply dump all your Weiqi stones on the nearest unfortunate reunion bastard that comes out of the red box and immediately refill the entire stock by activating skill tree. But then, the traps you will have off skill are entirely dependent on the remaining ammo when skill tree ends. And yes, if you use skill tree carelessly, you can be left without Weiqi stones. The effect of this is that Wang will be sitting there dilly-dallying, being functionally useless until skill tree charges again. So watch out for that. You need to keep in mind during skill tree where exactly you are placing your Weiqi stones, because any adjacent tile that is available will be used to consume ammo. To mitigate this, however, I present you the Shu SP buff. When there is 4 Sui operators in the squad, including Shu herself, everyone on the map gets extra SP. This is already one of the best buffs in the game, and normally anyone in the game can make use of it. However, Wang himself is a Sui sibling, meaning you only have to accommodate 2 squad slots for him rather than the usual 3, as he himself is part of the activation requirement for sure, and Shu herself, of course, has to be in the squad too. On the topic of operator combos and synergies, Wang doesn't really benefit from having anyone else beside the Sui siblings in the team, except for TT. Yeah, you know, the unit that you skipped to be able to roll on Wang, she's actually his best synergy. It's because when TT puts operators to sleep, they can't be targeted because they're asleep, and Wang, especially during skill 3, doesn't attack of his own accord, and you can still use the traps just fine, meaning that Wang is still entirely functional even while sleeped by TT. This introduces something else about Wang, which is often overlooked, that being the fact that during skill 3 he just gets to ignore status ailments, because deploying traps is entirely detached from Wang himself. Lastly, don't sleep on Wang skill 2. It can situationally be more useful than skill 3, as it has a way higher damage multiplier, slows enemy movement speed, and doesn't really have the risk of cucking yourself out of Weiqi stones. Lastly, Wang is one of 3 operators in this entire game where I would argue potentials actually matter somewhat. Given not actually that much, not anywhere near as important as Bagpipe or Sutra, but still very useful, because at potential 3 he can store 1 more Weiqi stone in his stock, going up to 8, which can be a situationally useful. In conclusion, he's arguably the strongest operator in the game, with Exusiai Alter and Tragodia. However, perhaps strong to a fault, as he can very much trivialize the entire game, and even hard endgame content like CCB. The best value that you can get out of this banner is to roll Wang and spark Shu. And that's all. Max out your Gummy. Bye. Hello, my name is SUPAH and welcome to the outro stand. This is where we sell outros of all kinds. Short, lengthy, lo-fi music, commissioned music, even those with a unique little segment for each new video. Have ever heard of those ones? Anyway, please take a number and get in line, there's quite a crowd. You are currently number 26,952, and we are serving number 12, so you'll be here for a while. But did you know our beautiful members get the VIP line? In particular, those VIPs are Dr. Mom Hunter, Patan, Nanneko, Misaller, Ephraim, Mr. Lazy Lemon, Bar22X, Camilo Wis'Adel, Viper Sushi, Lozun, EggPXL, Francisco Nunez, Solarlight Ira, Yuzu Ocha, Al Klein, Noel Runes, King Jed 2, Lizard King, Ascended Azan, Nemotics, Roman Slink, Don Chef, Cincintuna, Iliol, Vinshad, Kiron Box, Divius, Bomb Ninja, Apolotia, QQ12, Eternal Raptor, Senchinjaku, Nerferoff, Zephyrinix, Snupo, I Want Free Money, Burubarf, Bellisist 1, Nebiko, Selfer 7, Shirodezu, Prancing Peppers, Sergeant Vares, Sebistum, San Kenshi, Chromacham, 5UDZK, Genus Gay Shipper, Camon Hiren, Lavmentra, Yovune, King of Harems, and that guy with 2 names. So, please, go get in line. I hear people are ordering Ubers to go at their spot in the line, so good luck with that.